Hey gang, welcome to part 2 of the Suspirias. This is Kelly Attaway and my co-host is Chelsea Hollander, but I'm all by my lonesome for a minute. I wanted to let you know that I was at a brewery the other day and the bartender was wearing a Goblin t-shirt. If you'll remember from last episode, that's the band that did the soundtrack to the 1977 Suspiria. That, my friends, is a synchronicity. That means we're doing this podcast at exactly the right time in our lives. We're on the right path. So come get spooky with us and enjoy the episode. A little bit out of sync in our discussion of the two movies. So in our discussion of 1977, Sarah has already told Susie that she is suspicious that the teachers might be witches. We're not quite there in the remake. So in the remake, which is much longer, which is why it's easier to get places at the 1977 movie, in the remake, we just finished talking about Susie and Sarah breaking into the administrative office and the hook wiener. I'm sorry, the wiener hook. So then we see at dinner, all of the witches are out and the dancers are out on the town and the dancers walk past the witches at dinner and they're like peering into the window and the witches are saying one thing out loud with their mouths, but what they're actually doing is telepathically communicating.
And I really loved what they said in this scene too.
Remind me what they said.
They were like, we need to appear like we're having fun because we need to let them know that
that we're just people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
but
like,
I don't remember.
Appear to be having fun.
Yeah, they were just having a great time.
Is that how my inner monologue goes when I'm out?
I don't think I ever think about what people are thinking of me when I'm out.
Yeah. Oh, now I constantly think about what everyone's thinking of me at all times.
No, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
That's how you gotta live it. Yeah, if somebody walks up and looks at me, I'm all of a sudden like, oh, okay, I have to. I don't know.
I mean, I guess if somebody came up and looked directly at me.
I was gonna say, if I'm having a conversation with someone, it's usually, I'm gonna be real. I can't have two conversations at once. I'm good at multitasking, but I guess I can talk and like type on Slack at the same time.
Oh, I can't do that. Nope.
I can do that sometimes.
I can pretend to do that. It used to drive my brother crazy. He'd come into my room to talk and I'd be like on AIM chatting away. And he'd be like, I hate it when you do that. And I'm like, you should, because I'm not listening to you.
But to that point, I was like, man, that's gotta be exhausting. Because is there conversation? Is it like whenever you see extras? Are they just saying watermelon over and over again?
Watermelon, watermelon, watermelon.
Watermelon. I can't remember what the words that they say for extras are supposed to be.
Watermelon is what I used in musical theater.
Okay, good. That's what I thought it was. So to that point, were they just watermeloning? Maybe.
And
then talking to each other in their brains.
In their brains.
It's pretty cool. I mean, is it?
It's pretty cool.
Okay. I mean, in another scene, there are two people in one room and they're just talking to each other in their brains. And I'm like, that's unnecessary. It
establishes something. It establishes something.
That's true.
Which we are coming up on. So after this night out with the girls, Susie is in bed and she's having these crazy nightmares again that Madame Blanc is inflicting upon her. And Susie wakes up screaming, I know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. And at this point in the movie, you think one thing, but it's something else.
That she's just coming into herself and she understands that she is a very sexual being and loves to dance, right? That's all it means.
Well, I think that the dreams are like so crazy. And she's like, that's not me at all. Like, I know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not these dreams, is what we as the viewer think is happening. But soon we will discover that I mean something else.
That's when you said Susie was having dreams. What's happening with Sarah at this point? Sarah's hanging out with the therapist a lot.
Not yet. She's not there yet.
What the hell?
We just have one more scene.
I just want to get to the part where she's hanging out with the therapist.
We just have one more scene. And then she's with the therapist.
That's my favorite relationship in the film is Sarah and the therapist.
We then, after this scene, is when like, I just want to bring up this next scene because everybody's rehearsing the dance, not just Susie, but Susie and Blanc and the whole company are rehearsing this dance that they're working on. And Susie is doing a lot of floor work that's very sexual. And she's like fucking the floor. She's really getting into it. And Madame Blanc is like, I need you to start jumping. I need you to like jump higher, higher, higher. Yeah. And Susie like talks back to her. She's like, no, I think it's more impactful if I stay on the ground now and only do the jumps later. At some point during these dances where Susie is doing floor work, we see scenes of Helena Marcos in the room beneath her, like with her face up against the wall. Like the two of them are connected and Susie does not know. So Susie is dancing essentially for Helena Marcos. Mm-hmm. And Helena knows and is like reveling in it. And Susie can sense something. She ultimately brings it up to Sarah and asks her if she was feeling anything. And Sarah's like, no, you nut. What are you talking about?
And she was like, you sound like Pat.
You sound like Pat. So I just wanted to call that scene out where she's like dancing on the floor. And then the old man, the old therapist, comes to talk to Sarah. And they go out to like dessert together.
Oh, they do. She's very apprehensive.
She's not picking up what he's laying down.
Yeah. And I think he says he even sent the police over there and nothing came of it, and asked a couple questions around Pat and what Pat was doing. And like, he even was like, she said this. Do you think they're witches? Do you think they're this? He
shows Sarah Pat's diary to show like all of the connections between the teachers. And again, the therapist doesn't believe that they're witches. He's just like, something creepy and untoward is happening at the school, and Pat was onto them. And I think that they did something to get rid of her. And Sarah is not buying in. She ultimately walks out. But one thing I wanted to mention in this scene is the therapist is wearing a bib. He's got his like napkin.
Don't drop anything on your shirt.
I know, but he's so okay. Let me describe his outfit. so he's got white collared button down, base layer, tie, sweater over top.
Yep.
Bib is
possibly
only
sweater vest. He has a jacket on as well.
You're right. I was being narrow-minded, but
you're welcome.
But bib is only tucked into the sweater. Like white collar, tie are still exposed.
Maybe the white collar and tie can be washed easily, but the sweater is like wool.
Fine, that's a great point.
Yep.
Do you think
I know my bibbing?
Do you think that they were maybe like a faux sweater tie, like what are
like
those called?
That's like cut off.
They're called like a.
I don't know what it's called, but it's not good. A mock,
a dibby,
ooh, dibby. I'm gonna
a dickie.
Oh, dickie, yeah.
I think it was like a dickie, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's easy." Did they have dickies in 1977?
When were those
invented?
Okay, Wikipedia. What are you telling me? Oh man, this picture is from way long ago.
Okay,
they aren't giving me dates, but
Dickie's
yeah, I think it could be a dickie.
Okay, dickies predate the time of recording dates.
They're not giving me a date. Why would you not give a date on a Wikipedia page?
Probably because they don't know. They've just been around. They're time immemorial. You know who wore the first dickie? Jesus Christ.
Amen.
So then we see a crazy scene with Madame Blanc and Susie in the room where Olga died. And Madame Blanc is making her jump and jump and jump. And she finally like figures out how to jump high, which like, I don't know how you figure that out. It seems like something you would have to train yourself into. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not a dancer. And then it's the scene where Mousy Witch kills herself. And then we're finally catching up to our recap of the 1977 movie. So Sarah finally is suspicious. Like enough has happened after talking to the therapist, after Susie's weird comments. She is finally suspicious. And so
And in 1977, she was kind of always suspicious.
She was kind of always suspicious. Like she was suspicious back with Pat. But in the 2018 one, she takes some convincing. Mm-hmm. So in the 2018 one, she's finally suspicious. And if you'll remember, we left the 1977 Sarah tracking the footsteps of the witches through the building. And so that's where we are getting in the 2018 movie. So we see Sarah in her room. And I wanted to talk about this initiating scene with her in her room because she has a poster of Michael Caine smoking a cigarette in her room. Just like a young, sexy Michael Caine.
Oh, I did not notice that.
I had to rewind because I was like, is that Michael Caine?
Oh my gosh.
So that was a delight. But then she goes to follow the footsteps. It's 9:30, so the teachers are quote unquote leaving. So she goes to follow them, and she finds herself in the mirror room where Olga died and where Susie was just jumping. And Sarah, she's like knocking on the walls. And I was like, you dumb bitch, are you trying to get yourself caught? Like,
yeah, she said that. I was like, and I
Stop
get it, 'cause
knocking.
she was looking for a hollow part.
Totally understand the impetus, but you just heard their footsteps in there. Like, you don't know.
They're
They could be
in there,
just on the other side of the wall, and they're hearing you knocking. Fortunately, they're not. Well, unfortunately, I don't know.
But if you
Whatever.
trust them, because at the beginning it does talk about how they expected Sarah to be the next one because
Sarah was supposed to be. I know, but she's now suspicious after talking to the therapist.
Did they fully see her as someone who was suspicious prior to that? Because I mean, at that point, if she still kind of trusted them,
I don't think that she fully trusts them anymore. I don't know that the teachers think that she's suspicious yet, but I think that would change if they found her snooping around.
That's true. And they also set this up because this is right before the big performance that Susie's about to dance the lead in.
Not yet. So Sarah, this is the first time Sarah goes snooping, and the mirror door finally opens.
I'm getting the two movies mixed up right now in my brain.
She goes poking around, and she finds a portrait of Madame Marcos, presumably, and Madame Blanc together, and it's like framed in sphagnum moss.
Oh,
like she reaches out to touch it. I was like, what's the deal with the moss? I don't know. That was just a weird touch, I guess.
An aesthetic choice.
I guess so. But then she finds like essentially a cabinet of curiosities, and it includes the wiener hooks. Sorry, the fish hooks. So she hears the witches screaming behind the next door, and she goes in, but she gets away. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't know what happens behind that door. Presumably, she just observed them. I don't know why they were screaming.
I think it might have something to do with Olga happening in the other room.
Oh.
Because I'm trying to think of what bodies they could.
Yeah, I don't know. So something's going on, and Sarah witnesses something, and then she ultimately goes back to the therapist and brings him
the wiener hook.
And they get to talking, and he has a really great line that says, "You can give someone your delusion. Yeah. That's religion." like that was a great line. And I think that is, I wonder if that's what all the history stuff was about. Giving someone your delusion.
Because it has to do with also Nazi Germany and having the delusions that
fascism is
something to follow. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that might be the tie into history.
But we're working on this college essay. We're working on it.
Yeah. We would do a little more research, have some citations, but right now we have
we're working on it. So she leaves the hook at the old man's house, and I was like, oh, this is not going to go well for him. This is bad news.
Yeah, I felt exactly the same. And there is a scene. I thought he was going to be a combination of the visually challenged fella and the therapist from the first one. So I expected him to get eaten by a dog at some point.
Oh.
Maybe not by a dog, but by something. I expected something to happen to him because he had a much more intense role in the remake than any of the male characters did in the original.
Yeah, he's really the only male character.
The one guy in the first one. Sorry, you guys haven't heard us talk about him. Oh my God,
the first one.
Because
Pablos.
We keep forgetting that characters exist. Fun fact, because does it matter? Wait, are you talking about we're talking about different guys.
Oh, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the foxy androgynous guy. Wait, that could be in either of them, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so in the 1977 one, there's a boy who lives at the academy, and he is like of an age with the dancers, and he and Susie like make eyes at each other. Oh, they're co-ed dancing?
Yeah, he danced.
That's right. They were co-ed dancing.
In the one dance scene.
In the one dance scene, they were co-ed dancing.
But he was a dancer. And I think that they mentioned he can't pay his room and board, so he has to do all of the chores.
Yeah, he does chores, including going to fetch Susie and bring her her suitcase or whatever. And there's a weird flirtation between them, and we don't really understand.
Yeah.
It doesn't contribute anything. All it does is establish that Susie is a babe. But like, I have eyes, I can see her. And the boy I was talking about in the 1977 is there's like a house servant named Pablos who doesn't speak English. And we meet him straight away, right as Susie gets to the academy. And as they're going up the stairs, Grimace says to Susie, "Oh, this is Pablos. He's very ugly. You can say so." Like, don't be afraid to say he's very ugly. And Pablos is established as having dentures that he just got. And we don't really understand Pablos's role in the movie. Is he a witch?
I don't know. Or is he a creation of the witches?
Oh, yeah. That's what we were talking about last time in the forgotten episode, in the lost episode. We were like, maybe he's like a golem. He like does their bidding.
I don't know. I feel like that movie could have had...
Golem is
Golem
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
it's
but
Golem.
still isn't...
It's Golem.
Oh, yeah, good point. Good point on that. Yeah, but to that point, I don't think that like... I feel like you only need to know 2, maybe 3 characters in the first one. So we've completely left... Like, we're telling you guys every character as we remember them, but they are...
I guess it's just world building, you know?
Yeah, but I
guess it's just world building.
I don't know. This isn't a fantasy novel. I don't know if it would be. Do you care about the world in an hour and a half? If you want to talk about fantasy novels, necessary?
If you want to talk about
the 13th Depository.
Thank you.
Which is a wonderful podcast over a Wheel of Time. And they're going over the books right now. So if you haven't caught up on the movie series, go read the prologue in
Eye of the World.
And then you can start the books with them.
I think that when this episode comes out,
we're
doing chapters 1 through 12. So
already?
So our episodes are coming out bi-weekly, and we were like, let's aim for 6 hours of reading for a 2-week span. And that might be long. That might be long. It got us to a good place. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we do. So then we are back with Susie, and it's the night of the performance. Everybody's in costume, and they are cutting Susie's hair. They're cutting.
Oh, we're back
Susie's
to the 2018.
Hair. We're back to the 2018.
Because we're talking about the golem.
The golem. You're right. But I think that ties us up. I think that we're now in lockstep again, right? I think we're at the same point. We're about to talk about 1977, to talk about what goes on with Sarah. So in the 2018 version, we see Susie cutting her hair. And if you'll remember, she's Amish. She's never cut it before. So this is like a big moment. And I don't know anything about Samson, but every time I see hair cutting, I'm like, is this a Samson thing?
Well, that means she'll lose her strength. But
she gains her strength.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Surprise! This movie spoils thing, or this podcast spoils thing.
What? No!
Oops.
Turn it off now if you don't want to be spoiled. Sorry, guys.
Girl, turn it off an hour ago if you don't want to be spoiled. So it is show night, and these costumes are nuts.
They're all rope.
And they like almost form a pentagram on their chest.
Oh.
Yeah, pull up the IMDb. You can kind of see it there.
Yeah. I see it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that they were. I mean, that makes sense. I guess I did notice when I was watching it. The
nude underwear.
Is it beige underwear? Yeah, I was like, I can't tell if it's one of them. It looks like it's white underwear, or are they all really pale?
They're all pretty pale,
which is fine,
except for that black girl in the back, I guess.
Does she have underwear on?
Boy, she is not being lit well. She deserves better. So at this point in both movies, Sarah goes off creeping around. Mm-hmm. And do we want to talk about 1977 first?
We should talk about 1977 first.
So Sarah goes off creeping. She's trying to follow the footsteps. So it starts with her in Susie's room. She's trying to wake Susie up to talk to her, and someone is approaching the room. So Sarah flees, and that triggers her to go off exploring into the catacombs of the building, and she's clearly being followed. So she is just going deeper and deeper into the building.
I don't remember what part. She goes into a room, but someone's trying to get in, and someone has a razor. You still don't know it's witches. You still think that there might be a serial killer out there or some kind of supernatural entity trying to just murder everyone.
Sarah has just brought up the concept of witches. So in the 1977 movie, we're like, oh, maybe it's not a serial killer. Maybe this is witches. So Sarah flees and she finds herself in like a storage room of some sort, and somebody's banging at the door, and she's piling boxes up and climbing on boxes to try to escape out of a window. And the window...
There's suitcases, and she doesn't go biggest to littlest,
she doesn't.
Like a logical person would do. She goes like a medium, small, large. Okay.
And then when she gets up there, it's all topply, she's having a problem maintaining her balance. And I was like, yeah, well, just have a little foresight she's a dancer. She never had to do building blocks.
No, obviously not. And she obviously doesn't have foresight because she didn't look at the ground.
I know. She just jumps through this window into coiled razor wire.
Yeah. And before we do that, so she goes into this room and she locks the door. And it's one of the locks that are just like a little latch.
Yeah.
So whatever the killer is has like a razor through the door and is trying to up the latch. How is that so difficult? Like, it's just like, boop, 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 boop.
I don't know, but he is struggling. Whoever this is on Struggle Street trying to open this latch, which good, bad. I don't know. It's
maybe
something
it was planned because it was like, I know, or she.
Or they.
Knew that there was going to be razor wire in the next room. So they were like, she'll get trapped.
Maybe they were just trying to like scare her into going through that window.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like that would be logical. But at that point, I would be like, well, whenever she saw it and she was like, oh, I'm going to back away. I was like, you could just completely stop that from happening by just putting your finger on the part of the latch that the razor is not near. You could just hold it down.
She also like cowers in the corner for a second instead of trying to act. I was like, Sarah, come on,
Get
girl.
It together. Get it together. We were all rooting for you.
So she goes through this window, falls into this razor wire, and is like trying to swim through it. Basically, she's like trying to find her way out, and she's like being cut and bloodied. And
you guys saw 3. One of the Saws. Was it the first one? This happens in a Saw movie. Spoiler, you guys.
You know who was in the first Saw movie?
Carrie.
Yeah, Elvis.
Thank you. Thank you for saying the last name for me.
You're welcome.
Then she gets stabbed, or she gets her throat slit. Is that what happens?
I honestly can't remember. My note is, and someone kills her.
Yeah, I was like, well, they could have just left her. She was already mostly
She was not
there.
making it out of there.
Yeah.
But we'll learn why soon.
Oh, why she needed to get out of there?
Well, I think why they
needed
hurried on the process of her death. So in the 2018 remake, it goes down a little differently. So it's show night, right? And Sarah is again creeping through the hallways. Oh my God. I just remembered something I wanted to talk about in the 1977 movie.
Oh, I just remembered something I wanted to talk about in the 2018 movie. So you go for the 1977.
Okay. So in the 1977 movie, every time somebody is creeping through the halls, let's talk about the soundtrack for just a second. It's
by Goblin.
It's by Goblin.
And it is the greatest thing about the movie.
I wouldn't go that far, but it is dope. It is very dope. The music, the soundtrack to the first one is great. My only note, and this is because I'm from the future, I don't think that this was applicable in 1977. Every time somebody is creeping through a hallway, they use the same song.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And it sounds like the theme from Footloose. Like every time somebody's creeping through a hallway, it's like bound and down and down. And I'm like, gotta cut loose, foot loose.
I liked the soundtrack for the whispering, the whispers. It had every song.
Yeah,
it was so good. I like the whispers. Which in the 2018 film, Tom York did the score. So, good job, Tom York.
And I got so excited. One of my very first notes on the movie is Tom York in all caps.
Yeah. I didn't know that until until it started watching the film. I saw it
I didn't either. I was like, I didn't see it pop up. I just heard him and was like, my man.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Okay. What did you want to talk about for the 2018 film?
For the 2018, the dance that they're about to do, like everything leading up to it, makes you believe it's the ritual to bring on Marcos, to give her body to Marcos, to give her body as a vessel to Marcos.
But it's just a dance.
Is it? I don't think that's what it was supposed to be. I think
No,
it was
it's
supposed
not.
to be
It's
the
not.
actual.
We're about to talk about that. So in the 2018 one, it's dance night. Sarah sneaks off, bound and down and down, and she's
wait. That's the first one. Sorry.
No.
What?
I mean, it is the first one, but in my heart, it was Footloose. So she sneaks off as Tom York doing like, ooh. I don't know. I don't remember.
I can't remember the song. It's great. Like all the music sounded great, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, it was great.
Which is weird because a movie with a lot of dance, none of the dance scenes really had music because it was all breathing.
Yeah, there's like music in the background, but the breathing is the focus.
Do you think it had? I'm thinking of Birth. Oh, which makes sense.
The piece was entitled Rebirth.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, our college essay is going to fucking rule. Yeah. Okay, so Sarah's sneaking off and she finds something pretty spooky. She finds Patricia.
Yeah.
In like a web.
Well, the entire room is a web. She makes her way down to like this catacomb area.
Yeah.
And Patricia is talking to her and her body is obviously like decayed.
Yes.
Like, and she's just so sad. You can tell she feels so awful. And as she's talking to Pat, you then start to see something in the corner with, I want to say someone was missing some limbs.
Yeah.
Starts to inch towards her that's been amputated somehow, which I wonder. So like all of these bodies are down here. And I think you get a glimpse of Olga's body.
You do.
Olga's contorted body in the corner.
Yeah.
So then Sarah sees all this, understandably freaks the fuck out. I mean, she takes a little bit longer to freak out than I would. I get it. She saw her friend. She got really worried for her friend. She thought
she's really focused on Patricia.
So she thought there was something she could do and she could get her out of there. I think she even says, I'm going to get you out or something, and tries to figure out a way to help. But then she starts to see other things in the room start to come at her. Mm-hmm. And then she starts to run out. And then all of a sudden you start to just see. And the dance has started at this point, right?
The dance has started. And I want to talk about what's going on in the dance.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
Madame Blanc, all we've seen her in through the movie are like floor-length, flowy dresses. She's in trousers in this scene, and she looks incredible.
Tilda Swinton in anything looks incredible.
Tilda Swinton looks so great.
Even in old man makeup.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Do we want to talk about that now?
No, let's get through the movie and then let's circle back.
Sounds great.
So the dance is going on, and as they're filing out, we talked about it earlier, before they go out onto the dance floor, they chant Marcos's name, and then they go out, they begin their dance, but they know Sarah is missing. So the instruction is to dance as though Sarah is there. And the old man, the therapist, is in the audience, and he's not doing so hot. He's like loosening his tie. He's there like sort of looking for Sarah, and he's scanning the group, and she's not there.
And also the witches noticed him when he came in. Like I think they understood who he was.
I think so too.
And what he meant to Pat and what he means to Sarah. Like they already know. They know what's going on.
Yeah. So Sarah freaks out, like Chelsea said, goes running through the halls, and there are like holes opening up in the floor. And her foot sinks into one, and her leg breaks just right in the middle, and it's bone through flesh. And I was like, no! Oh,
that's pretty gross.
No, that scene with Olga was fine. This is upsetting.
Yeah. And it's not just like the scene with Olga. It doesn't go very quickly. Like it holds.
It holds.
It holds onto that piece of bone protruding.
And then
from the flesh.
Witches descend and start pulling her out of this hole. And it's so slow. This is so slow, pulling her out. And Sarah is in so much pain. And we're just seeing the bone like slowly. Blah, 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 blah.
And she's screaming.
She's in so much pain. But the witch heals it.
Yeah.
She just heals it. She pulls her leg out and heals it. And then they bring her onto the dance floor.
And her eyes are different.
She's different. She's not here. She's not here with us.
Question.
Yeah.
You might answer this with what you're about to say. Was Madame Blanc controlling her?
I don't think Madame Blanc was.
She was mirroring dance moves throughout that scene.
Oh, shit. Maybe you're right then.
So I thought she had taken control of Sarah in order to get through the performance.
Oh my God, maybe. Because Sarah makes it a little while, but ultimately collapses screaming and her leg is broken again.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe her will was strong enough to overcome.
But we find out that the reason the dance ended was because Susie
was going off
it.
book. Susie was not following the dance as it was rehearsed.
Yep. At that point, whenever she went off book, the spell broke. So you remember that Sarah's leg was broken. This is broken again.
Yeah, you're right. This was supposed to be the ritual.
Yeah.
Which we learn in the next scene because Madame Blanc goes to visit Susie, and this is where they speak telepathically, even though it's just the two of them in one room. But this is critical because this is the first time we learn that Susie can do this and knows what's happening. So Susie and Madame Blanc have this discussion, and the whole reason they brought Sarah back upstairs after Susie went off book was to like try to get things back on track. And I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
There's a line that Susie says in this scene that I don't understand. She says, "It's all a mess. The one out there, the one in here, the one that's coming."
Oh.
And I
feel like that's a big different meaning now that I know.
What I keep circling in on is that there were like 3 mothers.
Yes.
So are the one out there, the one in here, the one that's coming?
Yeah. I mean, if we go back to the 1977 Suspiria, it is a trilogy. So you have Mother Suspiria, the Mother of Sighs. You have Mother of Darkness.
Except it's Suspiriorum.
Yeah, that's it. Mother Suspiriorum.
So is each movie about a different mother?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to watch the other 2.
Suspiria, Inferno, and Mother of Tears. Mother of Tears came out in like 2007.
By Dario Argento?
Mm-hmm. All 3. The Mothers are Death. Both Mater Suspirium and Tenenbaum have claimed to be the mothers or death personified. Mother of Sighs, Mother of Darkness, and Mother of Tears. So you have the Mother of Darkness, the Mother of Tears, and the Mother of Sighs. And this focus is the Mother of Sighs.
I don't understand that line still. Maybe it makes sense if I've watched the other movies. I think that you're
spot on, though, that they're... I mean, with the hope that they would be able to create a 2 and 3 for it, which honestly, I would like to see a second and third.
Yeah, do it. Yeah,
and
for
their interpretation of the other 2 mothers, because I like what they did with this one.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So we just did the dance that was supposed to be a ritual, and the ritual didn't work. We've talked about Sarah's death in the 1977 movie. Sarah's just missing in the 2018 one. So after her leg breaks, she's like carried off stage and we don't know where she is from there. We go back to things as normal. We see more rehearsals at the school. Mm-hmm. But the old man, the therapist, that night sneaks out. I guess he doesn't sneak out. It's his house. But he goes out. Don't be so sad just yet. This is just foreshadowing.
I'm sorry.
So he goes out and throws a duffel of stuff off of a bridge into the water along with the wiener hook. Mm-hmm. What was in that duffel? I'm sure that it was her diary.
Yeah.
But like, you don't need a whole duffel to throw a diary. Like, what else was in there?
I think after that, he would like, and whenever Sarah broke her legs, she even looked up at the therapist and he saw her eyes and he was like, I am done with this shit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna trifle in this. This is not my business.
After he tosses the stuff off the bridge, this nameless stuff off the bridge, he goes to his country home and his wife is there, allegedly.
And there have been like they talked about his wife a couple times.
They talked about his wife. So he lost his wife in like Nazi Germany. Mm-hmm. They fled and they lost contact with each other. And in fact, the police officer that he contacted to help find Patricia had helped him try to track down his wife previously. So he's been mourning the loss of his wife. He keeps this country home, which is where they like made their first home. Like their initials are carved into the side of the building. It's very sweet. And he seems to go out there to just get away from things. It's like his vacation home. So he goes out there and his wife is waiting at the door. But what I wrote down was, allegedly his wife is here, and I'm not buying it. This has witch written all over it.
I mean, were you right? Or like, were you right?
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact, it is Jessica Harper. You know,
it's
the girl
Jessica
who plays
Harper.
Susie from the first film.
Yeah, that was nice. I like that they did that.
It was very nice.
So they go on a walk. And
oh, it's so beautiful.
They're having just a pleasant time. She's like, I thought that you were dead. I started this new family. I love and miss you. And they're just walking through town, and she leads him right to the academy and then disappears, and the witches come out and scoop him up. Like,
and they're pretty mean. They're like, you didn't even look for your wife. You didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, they were being shitty to him, and I believe that he did. I believe that he did look for her.
They were very, very mean. And then they said that you're the kind of person that treats us like we're crazy, which is not untrue with Pat. He didn't believe her.
That's true.
And that was a big thing. She was like, you don't believe us when we tell you these things.
But like, you're also a secret witch coven. Why do you want him to believe you?
That's true. But and I think that this is part of the, what the writer wanted to get across when he wanted to talk about it being kind of like a female empowerment movie. Thank you, male who wrote a female empowerment movie.
Mm-hmm. Hats off.
He was like, well, I want it to be like, in this part, to be like, you didn't believe me. You don't believe women. You don't believe women when they tell you the truth. Which probably wasn't wrong for that time, but also he didn't seem like...
But for 2018, he did listen to Pat. Like
he did, and he went out and he even tried to save her friend. Like he tried to close that circle. He tried so hard.
Yeah, huh.
Yeah, so I wouldn't see him as I don't know. Do males have this idea that women hate them even when they're being caring?
That's like second wave feminism or whatever.
Oh, okay. What are we in, the 15th?
Girl, I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know. But
one of the waves was like, fuck men.
Yeah, but I
wiener hook them.
Yeah. I mean, obviously. But I don't know. He seemed like a good dude. Yeah. I was very heartbroken when his wife disappeared because he seemed like he was brokenhearted for most of his life until she showed up again.
Oh, I was disappointed the minute she showed up. I was like, I smell what's happening here.
Oh, no. Like, I didn't feel good about it. Like, I was like, oh, he gets to be happy. And I was like,
no
this is not
way.
real.
No way.
Was she the same age as him? She had to have aged incredibly gracefully.
No, she seemed much younger. Yeah, but I don't know what they were doing.
She probably would have been whenever things went down.
I don't know what they were doing in the 40s,
so well.
The 30s.
Getting work done?
Do you think she got work done?
No, I don't know, but she was very pretty. If she didn't,
she was very pretty.
Yeah, she didn't look old. Like she looked like an older version of herself, but she looked very good.
No, she looked great.
I hope I can age like she did.
I got to start moisturizing.
Pro tip, everyone, moisturize.
So he's been captured, and let's talk about the end of the 1977 movie.
Because it's inconsequential.
You're wrong. So in the 1977
I still loved the movie, and I think everyone should watch it. It is
in the 1977 movie, we at this point, Sarah's dead, but Susie is suspicious. So Susie finally throws out the weird meal that this doctor has prescribed her that has been poisoning her, and she finds the note that Sarah had been making about the steps that the teachers make through the halls. So Susie goes traipsing through the halls trying to track down these footsteps, and she does successfully and enters another weird catacomb in the bowels of the building.
And she remembers the things that Pat had said as she ran away.
Yes. So she remembers that she heard Pat shouting about the blue iris. Turn the blue iris. Do you know what an iris looks like?
Yes. I come
don't.
from someone who has an ample flower garden. One of my grandmothers, the other grandmother owned a flower shop. So I would do them wrong if I didn't know what an iris looked like.
I do not know what an iris looks like. So I was like, well.
But they're not blue.
There were 3 different colors of irises in this painting.
Did you say 3 different colors?
3, yeah. There was like yellow and pink too.
Oh, fuck. They are blue. Sorry, guys. Yep. I have...
Sorry, grandmas.
They might disown me now. One of them might. The other one wouldn't.
I did. So the iris thing doesn't come up in the 2018 movie, but there is a scene where somebody is wearing a blue robe and there are flowers embroidered on the back. And I thought that was like a callback to it.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That might be. They did a lot of nice callbacks to it.
Yeah.
There were certain like cuts that mirrored cuts that they had in the original movie that were done really well.
Down and down.
The feeling and the colors of the movie were completely different between the two. Like the second one was very drab. There was a lot of red, but the first one was very brightly colored. In the first Suspiria, other than the blood, I didn't notice a ton of red. Other than the blood and the lighting.
No, there was like crazy red lighting all the time.
Lighting.
Yeah,
but
the lighting.
Like the walls. Ooh, why were the walls like velvet and the floors not anything? They weren't like carpeted. Why were the walls carpet and the floor not carpet?
Because walls are low touch areas, so it's easier to keep it clean.
Oh, man, you bringing on the logic.
I recently saw a GIF of somebody vacuuming their walls. They're like shag carpet walls. Oh, yeah. So I was recently thinking about this.
I was like, I like how you said vacuuming walls, and I was like, oh, and then you were like shag carpet walls, and I was like, oh, why though? But why? You can't have like a pet. You can't have a pet with carpet walls.
No, I just moved, and when I was packing curtains that were behind a high back chair, there was like a line of cat fur at the top of the chair. And I was like, my fucking cat. He's just up there rubbing his long fur on these curtains. Okay, so where were we?
Blue iris.
Blue iris. So Susie remembers that Pat said blue iris, and she finds a wall with a big mural on it that includes a blue iris. So she turns it, she rotates it, and she finds herself in this like dark hallway. And she's like creepy crawling through the hallway, and she encounters the witches.
Yeah.
They don't see her yet. She's just eavesdropping, and they're talking about her. They're talking shit about her. They're like, we got to kill her. We
got to kill the American is what
we got to kill the American.
But there is no reason for them to want to do that.
No, they don't know that she's suspicious yet.
Absolutely no reason. Like, I can understand maybe like as a sacrifice, and if that had been explained, this plot would make sense.
But yeah, they're not.
But they were like, we need to fucking kill her.
Yeah, they're
we need to take care of that bitch.
Yeah. And so Susie gets sort of scared. It seems like the kid maybe notices her, the weird kid in the lederhosen.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Is that why she ran behind the door?
I think that's why she ran. So she runs and she enters a room, and there again behind a curtain is the silhouette of the directress and her wheezy snores. Mm-hmm. And this is a crazy scene.
Yeah.
So Susie knocks something over because she's a klutz, and the directress wakes up and is
peacock. She knocks over a giant peacock.
A giant peacock?
Yeah, it's like a peacock statue. And I remember being like, oh, that's a weird placement for that. And then she knocked it over, and I was like, now I understand why it was there.
So she knocks it over, wakes up the directress, and the directress is hideous.
Yep.
She's like,
I read that he hired, let me find the exact quote. Someone said he hired like a 90-year-old hooker off the streets.
So that wasn't prosthetics?
Sex worker.
That wasn't prosthetics?
It had to have been prosthetic.
It must have been prosthetics.
Well, she had like, it was like if you were getting like a mud mask.
Yeah, she had like
a mud
stuff
mask
on her. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say it'd be the equivalent of if I had a really thick mud mask.
Thick ass mud mask. Susie picks up one of the peacock's feathers.
Yeah.
As a weapon. She's holding it as though to stab. And then Marcos disappears. But her laughter is crazy. Her laughter fills the room.
She also like goads her. She's like, "Are you gonna kill me? I dare you, bitch." And
yeah, she's mean about it.
Which is exactly the character arc you were talking about whenever you said she was so timid at the beginning.
Yeah, Susie really grows. She did seem pretty timid at the beginning. There is that establishing line early on where Susie is asking to stay at Olga's instead of moving into the school, and Grimace says, "Oh, I didn't know you had a backbone." So she's got a little spark of something. Mm-hmm. But she really grows into it throughout the movie. And so she's finally willing to defend herself in this last scene. And she's looking around. Marcos has disappeared, but there are like sounds coming from everywhere in the room, including Marcos's laughter. And Susie is smart enough to know that this is like a mirage. It's a shimmer. So
nice use of shimmer.
Thank you. I can't remember what fantasy series that's from.
Sorry.
Shimmer. Oh, it's Wheel of Time.
Are you trying to just plug that?
No, I wasn't trying to plug it. I genuinely couldn't remember. Is that right?
Shimmer a real word? Yeah, it's a real word. Fuck off.
Shimmer. Wheel of Time.
It definitely is. I've heard it before. Okay, shimmer doesn't have a description, but I knew the phrase shimmer as meaning something that was not real, right? Like kind of like a mirage. But I'm not seeing it
The Craft?
Might be. God, I fucking love The Craft.
Love The Craft. Oh, I think it's Doctor Who. I'm thinking of Doctor Who. Which, oh my God, great, because I want to talk about that. I'm sorry. I'm going to bring it up again in a minute.
Okay, that's good. Okay, we'll loop back around.
So Susie recognizes that this is a facade, and so she stabs into the place where she last saw Helena Marcos, and her peacock blade flies true, and she kills Helena Marcos.
But prior to that,
yeah,
isn't that when Sarah shows up?
Oh my God, you're right. I loved this scene. So shit's going crazy. And Sarah comes in. She's clearly possessed. It's the corpse of Sarah. And she's, while Susie was poking around in the catacombs, she found Sarah's corpse on like a pedestal. And she had pins in her eyes. So she was like, it's like voodoo doll type imagery. So Sarah's corpse comes into the room to attack Susie, and she's still got the pins in her eyes. She's got all these cuts from the razor wire. Like, that's so scary. What a great scene. So scary.
And that's the one that I think was probably equivalent to the beginning scene.
Exactly. Like the movie is bookended with these two really great.
Yeah, the intro and the conclusion. The middle part, I say that. I still recommend the movie. All of the scenes are kind of like interesting in their own right. I have more notes from an 1.5-hour movie than I do from the 2.5-hour movie that we watch after. I have very good things to say about the Dario Argento movie.
Mm-hmm. But that's the end. That's the end of the movie.
It explodes.
Oh, you're right. It catches on fire.
Their faces explode.
Their
Blood
faces
goes everywhere.
explode.
Yeah, I mean, everyone dies.
Everyone dies.
Except for Susie. Susie gets out alive.
Susie gets out.
And everybody else, all the dancers were out.
Yeah, they were out having a night. They didn't have like a
post-credit scene where the foxy nice guy was he in the witch's den?
Girl, I do not know. I hope not. I don't know.
I'm trying to just like have a happy ending for them.
I mean, the dancers were away. We know that they were out that night. Susie gets away.
And because it was made in 1977. I mean, if I was going with the second one, I would say she would end up with the lady. But
she's going to end up with a lady in the second
Probably
one.
End up with that one dude.
Yeah, no, in the second one, no dudes. No dudes allowed. No dudes allowed. So in the second one...
Oh, okay. This is the start of the podcast.
Here we go.
Over 2 hours in. You guys get that?
Here we go.
Oh, shit. Are we going to talk like an hour about this? Because I feel like I have an hour worth of things to say about the next
I don't know. This is going to be 3 episodes long.
shit, this is the longest one we've ever done.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot
There's so
to say.
much to say.
We shouldn't have tried to do 2 movies.
Yeah, mistakes are made.
So, Susie, you'll remember in the 2018 remake, they did the dance. Sarah disappeared. Susie and Madame Blanc talked telepathically, and the therapist's wife was a mirage and lured
Shimmer?
him to be a shimmer and lured him to be captured by the witches at the school. So right after he is captured, Susie she strips and puts on a really gauzy robe. You remember this?
Oh,
to go down into the bowels of the building, like clearly prepared to do some witchy stuff.
Well, right before this, they all had a dinner in preparation. They were like, eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But then they put all of the dancers in a trance. And then that's when you get to this weird extra room, pretty large extra room where everyone's already kind of dancing, kind of moving around already.
They're clearly doing a ritual at this point.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
They're like bowing and breathing
and opening people's midsections.
They do disembowel Sarah. So Sarah is there and they just open up her guts and her intestines fall out.
Which, better intestines than Color Me Blood Red. They were believable intestines.
They were much more believable. Yeah. And the old man is there too. And he's like naked watching the whole production. He's not a part of it because he's got a wiener.
Witness. Somebody said that they needed a witness. And I think he is the witness.
That sounds right.
Oh, but and he's just like, I didn't do anything. I'm innocent.
I know. Poor old man. So Madame Marcos is there. And she's
that was my impersonation of how she looks. Sorry. But I think that was accurate. Spot on even.
No, you nailed it. She does not look great. I have been trying to remember for days what she reminded me of.
Jabba the Hutt?
No.
Oh.
It's a character from Doctor Who. And I haven't looked this up. I have not looked this up. So don't come for me. But what I'm pretty sure the monster from Doctor Who I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure it was called an absorbathon. Because if you touch it, he absorbs you into his body.
I mean, I feel like it sounds like Doctor Who was a influence in this.
It sounds like it, right?
It really does. Sorry that sorry, I'm going to look at it. It's with a Z. Absorbaloff.
Absorbaloff, fine.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong. That checks
right?
out.
It looks like it, right? It took me days to remember. I was just lying awake in bed, what does she remind me of? Is it Darth Vader when he takes his mask off? No, that's not right. Is it?
It is very similar to that.
Yeah.
But he also looks like a cross between, that part in Nightmare on Elm Street. Is it the third one? Dream?
I don't know. I don't know the nightmares.
It's a mix between 3 different characters in my brain. Oh, no. Okay. I changed one of the characters. The clown from Spawn, the Freddy Krueger, and I think the third one where he shows his stomach and it has all the faces of his victims.
Oh, Absorbathon. Absorbaloff. What is it?
Absorbaloff.
Absorbaloff. Okay. Yeah. That's a good episode, by the way.
And then something else. Now I can't remember what my third one was.
Oh, sorry. But so she's there.
Love and Monsters. That's pretty nice.
The Doctor Who episode?
Yeah.
It's a good episode. It's cute.
It's cute with that character. Cute. That's cute.
And, the gal who plays Moaning Myrtle is in it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Madame Marcos is there. She's looking crazy. And she's being real shitty to Susie.
And she's being real shitty to fucking Madame Blanc.
I know. I thought she and Madame Blanc were
it seemed like they were tight. Yeah, but I guess that they're both competing for the head of the school. Because they talked about the dynamic between that earlier on whenever they were talking about Susie possibly being the next one.
Yeah, and I could get her being mean to Madame Blanc, but shouldn't she be nice to Susie? She needs Susie to agree to this.
She's got a lot of attitude. I don't know. She's really feeling herself, but she probably shouldn't be.
She should not be. She should be like asking Susie very kindly to participate in this.
But maybe it's exactly how we got into that club in LA. You got to nag him.
Yeah, she's trying to nag him.
Susie. She was like, Susie, you want this. You can't have this. And she was like, shit, I want it. You're right.
Ew, I don't.
Yeah. No, I don't think anybody wants Helena Marcos. All up in them?
Ew.
Yeah. It's so much worse when you think about it, honestly.
And Madame Blanc tries to give Susie an out. She's like, something doesn't feel right. Like, you have to really want this. If you don't want this, we can leave.
To this point, in the conversations that they were having telepathically, doesn't she say, you love me? There was some part where she's like, you don't want this to happen because you love her. Is that what Helena Marcos says? Like, there is a clear point where you understand that Madame Blanc has a complete affection for Susie.
Yeah, maybe that was in their two telepathic.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like, I don't know what kind of love it is, if it's just like an affection or a romantic love. I can't really tell their dynamic because at some points I'm like, is it romantic? Are they?
I know there were some scenes I was like, are they gonna bang?
Yeah, they were with the hand holding. I was like, are they into each other?
Are they doing it? Are they gonna do it?
Go for it. Go for it, girl. Like,
who doesn't want to bang Tilda Swinton?
I felt very happy about this. But yeah, then that's exactly when Madame Blanc was like, you don't have to do this. Something feels wrong. She kept saying, something feels wrong. Something feels wrong. This isn't right. And she fucking knew it. She knew
it, but Marcos lashes out.
Marcos is solid by saying that. What the fuck?
I know. She like wants this to work. So they have tried this ritual before with other girls who weren't as invested and it failed. So like, we really need this one to succeed because Madame Marcos or Mother Marcos doesn't have much time left. So we're desperate, right? But Madame Blanc knows that, one, she's trying to protect Susie, and two, she knows that the ritual isn't going to work unless Susie is totally on board. And when she tries to give Susie an out, Madame Marcos lashes out and kills the shit out of Madame Blanc. Like, severs her spinal cord.
Oh, and I loved when she tried to give her an out because she was like, we can go back up to the room and I will erase all of these moments.
Yeah, she was like, I will fix this. I will fix this for you. And in that moment, something changes within Susie.
So good.
And something arrives. Something arrives.
I think they said it was her familiar.
Her familiar?
They don't say in the movie, but I've read about it outside of it. Yeah, you're familiar, right? Isn't that?
But I thought a familiar was like your cat.
Yeah, her familiar is just death.
Okay, so this weird zombie creature shows up and is murdering the people who voted for Mother Marcos in that vote we talked about earlier as to who should lead the coven.
Well, first, it doesn't kill anybody. It just comes up to Susie and then bows to her. And then that's when Marcos is like, the fuck? Who are you?
So does it kill Marcos first?
It doesn't kill Marcos first. The demon or the large item or whatever it is comes up.
Yeah, the word
and
zombie.
Bows to Susie and she goes, oh my God, who are you?
Susie says that?
No, that's what Marcos says. And then Susie in response goes, who anointed you? And then she's like, and then Marcos is like freaking out. She's like, Mother Suspiria. Yeah. And
Susie says, I am she.
So she knows she's a lying bitch. She's like, I didn't do shit. You are not one of mine. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that little demon goes and murders everyone that voted for Marcos.
And it's like, it echoes a scene. So when we first meet Madame Blanc earlier in the movie in a rehearsal, she enters the rehearsal and she's kissing all of the girls on the cheek to greet them, all of the dancers. And that's what this weird zombie creature is doing. It's going around and kissing them on their cheek to kill them.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Oh,
and they're like,
super sweet.
Their like heads explode.
Yeah. Until I met Marcos. If I had met Marcos and she was like decent, if she was like a little mousy girl, I would have been like, oh, that's chill. But yeah, Marcos was a piece of shit. So.
Marcos sucked, but I really hated this scene. I have in my notes, man, this was a good movie until the head explosions.
I mean, it was a pretty ridiculous. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I immediately was like, Also, we didn't talk about the fact that...
Yeah, no, we can talk about it right now. So Susie is watching this demon zombie thing, whatever, killing the people who voted for Marcos. And she grabs at her chest and like tears it open. What's that about?
It's like, also, it looks very much like female genitalia.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so I think it had to do with almost her birth.
I think, yeah. So something we were talking about earlier, I stopped myself because I was like, oh, she was like opening a cocoon, basically. Like this was her rebirth, like the dance.
Yes.
Like
it was really ridiculous though with all the... Everyone was... It's a fully nude scene. I think everyone's nude in it. And everyone's kind of flailing around. And they don't stop flailing. Like they're still in a trance.
They're still dancing. And after she like rips her chest open, she goes down amongst them and is telling them, keep dancing. It's beautiful. But she goes up to Patricia and asks her what she wants. And she says to die. And she allows her to die.
Mm-hmm. And
she goes up to Sarah and asks what she wants. And she says to die. And she allows her to die. And there's a third. Is it Olga?
I think it's Olga. I remember there was a third, but I'm not 100% sure it was.
Yeah, I'm not
sure. If it is an unknown character. But I would assume it would be Olga.
Yeah. So she's like seemingly magnanimous, I guess magnanimous.
Well, I feel like with those three, they were dead, but they were being kept alive.
Yes.
And they no longer just wanted to be
letting them pass.
Yeah. In a state of the middle ground, which you kind of see, though, even with Madame Blanc, because then you find out Madame Blanc isn't dead.
Madame Blanc's not dead. So later, when the witches are like cleaning up this room where this ritual has happened, they like yank Madame Blanc's head back to like reconnect her spinal cord, and she responds. She's alive. She's
still there. Yeah.
She's still there.
So I wonder if that building or those rooms had some kind of suspension.
Oh,
like you don't pass whenever you're in those catacombs. You continue to live on. Oh. But even then, like when they were describing, I feel like they had to have known Madame Blanc might still be around. But that could also be why they went to the extent of exploding heads.
So when I was watching it, my notes when this like creepy zombie thing shows up and is kissing people to kill them, I was like, is this Madame Blanc somehow?
Oh, that'd be cool.
There's nothing in the film to support that apart from the connection of the kissing. So like, I don't know, but I had that reaction in the moment.
Yeah, it was and this is when I texted you because I was watching it. Obviously, I had a visceral reaction from the beginning part and I was like, I have to pause and watch it another day. And then I watched that and then I texted you and I think it was pretty late at night. And I was just like, the fuck, this shit is fucked. And that was how I felt about the entire scene. I was like, this shit is fucked. But I did appreciate... And I talked about this in the Lost episode, is this made me feel very much like I feel about American Horror Story, where I feel very uncomfortable, very upset up until the last 5 minutes when it resolves it so well. Like it just made me not hate everything or be upset.
This head exploding scene is what resolved it for you?
I mean, partially because I knew that the witches were bad, but I still had some faith in some of them being good. And I think Madame Blanc was probably a force for good. And I think Mater Suspirium was probably a case for good. And that's what you get, though. So in the epilogue, whenever you see the therapist, Madame Suspirium, now that she's into her own, it's no longer Susie. She is who she is. Mm-hmm. She goes and she's talking to him and she even says to him, I'm sorry what my daughters did to you. I was not at a place where I could be who I was to stop them from doing that to you. So that leads you to believe that she might be not like she's a horrible beacon for good, but she's not a beacon for evil.
Yeah, I don't know. I still have so much trouble trusting her. I do agree that she does good. So she goes to, like you said, she goes to visit the therapist and she tells him how his wife died. She's like, I think that you deserve to know that truth. So she tells him she was in a concentration camp, but she died with friends and her last thoughts were of you.
It's fine.
And then she wipes his memory. And I have a question about that. She wipes his memory of the witch stuff.
Mm-hmm. And all the women that he's ever impacted. that make him feel guilty. So his wife was, that's what I was worried about, because his wife was erased from his mind also, because she said her name. She said, I'm erasing Anka, I'm erasing Patricia, I'm erasing, because she
tells him and then immediately erases it? What's the point of that?
I don't know, but she also says the line, we need guilt, which I also think has to stem from the Nazi Germany portion of it, but we don't need your guilt.
Oh.
And then she erases his memory.
And he like fully seizes. It's
pretty rough.
That was a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
But then he comes back, except then he doesn't even know his caretaker.
I know.
And I was like, she's been taking care of me. What is it, Madam Sesame?
Yeah,
she like,
says
I love
different.
Sesame Seeds.
Subtitles were Sesame, but she says it different.
And that's when I was like, oh, she's not evil. And I mean, valid, would have killed anybody who voted for Marcos, because I feel like they would have been pushing for something evil.
I don't know. I think you're right. Definitely the people voting for Marcos, their hearts are not in the right place.
But even to the fact that I feel like the one good one was probably Mousy Girl, and she's just abstained from voting.
But I don't know. Like, I am having trouble saying that she is a good witch when her first act after coming into her own is head exploding a bunch of people.
But I mean, that probably...
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you're taking out the bad guys, I don't know.
But they're like maybe bad guys, you know?
But they're totally bad guys. You met Helena Marko. She sucks.
Yeah, she sucks. But like, were these people bad or were they afraid of change?
I don't know. Are you a Nazi sympathizer? Is that what we're learning right now?
Oh my God. Is that the connection between the history stuff? I'm not a Nazi sympathizer.
But that's his thing. Like, if you're going to follow someone who has a tyrannical rule, are you going to say, I think that might be the historical connection with it.
But my point is still, if you use the same tactics as the bad guy, are you not then the bad guy?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. And so my other feeling is when you talk about things like I don't know. I am not somebody to tell anybody what their morality should be. But in terms of that, I think when you're saying somebody it's prejudiced to be against somebody who's racist.
No, that's nonsense.
Yes, exactly. So taking down the people that are the ones murdering people and using them for nefarious reasons.
I think that that's a false equivalency because
Okay.
I don't think that you should be murdering people who are racist.
I mean, if you're a witch, though.
So witches get different rules?
They do.
I don't know. I'm conflicted about the end of this movie. I don't know if she's good. I don't trust her.
Have you never watched a movie where you thought that a death was justified? Whenever they killed Voldemort. I'm trying to think. Whenever the Dark Lord Sauron, whenever the ring was thrown into Mount Mordor.
No, I don't know Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
No one-
fuck.
I don't know
Really?
that
Ah,
one.
shit. Okay. We come from different fandoms. That's why I need to read Wheel of Time. So then I
read
can
Wheel of
make an
Time.
equivalent comparison. Did somebody murder
You'll
someone in Wheel
struggle.
of Time?
You'll struggle. You'll struggle.
Trying to think of other...
But movies are different from real life.
This is a movie!
Fine.
Stormtroopers. Do you want all the stormtroopers to live? I don't know. Finn was a stormtrooper. You're right. I'm contradicting myself right now.
I don't know.
Do you see movie
I
magic?
totally see your point. Like,
it's movie
I was
magic,
just
you
following
don't-
orders is not a good excuse.
Yeah.
I totally see what you're saying.
But I think that that's the comparison they're trying to make is that because exactly that's what the entire German autumn was about, being pissed off that all these Nazis
I
still
think you're
got to
right.
continue to be in power.
I think you're absolutely right.
Which, I'm going to be real with you, I didn't notice until the last 2 minutes of this conversation.
No,
so
same. Totally agreed. Yeah. Now that you've said it, I see what you're saying and I agree.
But to this point, I have a hard time justifying murder in any sense.
Yeah. Like,
I agree with that.
Could we not just kick them out of the coven?
Yeah, but what if they I guess that's a sequel. What if they talk to Madam... I'm so far away from that Wikipedia page now.
Madam Marcos was about to die anyway.
No, not her. The Mother of Death.
I don't know about the sequels. I don't know.
What if they
about
were
the
like,
sequels.
stop, Mother of Death, let's take over.
Are the three mothers fighting?
Down.
I thought they were in cahoots.
I don't know. They might not like each other. We thought Madame Blanca and
Blanca. Sorry, I was just thinking of Blanca from Street Fighter.
Madame Blanc and Helena Marcos, we thought they were bros.
Yeah.
And they thought they were bros. They had been through many, it seems like they had been through probably centuries together even.
Man, Tilda Swinton does look timeless. Am I right?
She is super timeless. Also, something we were looping back around. She played Helena Marcos. You know, the bag of garbage.
And also the therapist.
Full on wearing all prosthetics for her entire body.
Which blew my mind.
Because did we talk about her being naked? The therapist was naked as the witness.
Yeah, I mentioned that he was naked.
Oh, okay. But she was in full on just naked man suit.
Naked man suit. But in the Lost episode, I did not know this.
Yeah, you didn't.
When I watched this movie, one of my first notes is like, who is this old man? Why is he in prosthetics? This looks like ADR. Like, I was just like, I don't understand what's going on with this old man character. And then Chelsea was like, yeah, he was played by Tilda Swinton. And I lost my mind.
That's probably the biggest thing that I missed from the Lost episode is the moment that you found out. Oh, it was so good.
Lost my mind. Didn't know that she played the therapist. Didn't know that she played Helena Marcos. That's crazy. Is it Helena? Helena Marcos.
Somebody wants to write in and let us know how to pronounce it. Nobody's been writing in to let us know how to pronounce stuff. So I assume you guys don't care that we butcher the shit out of anything.
Contribute.
We're going to keep butchering it, guys. If
we're going to start doing it on purpose to irritate you.
All right. Well, I don't know if I have any more to say about it. 10 out of 10. No,
10 out of 10. 9.
I'd probably say like 8 out of 10 on both of them. I probably wouldn't say 10 out of 10. But that's a really high rating in my opinion. So you should
10 out of 10 is hard to achieve. I would say
Dead and Breakfast is
10. Yeah, Dead and Breakfast is 10 out of 10 for sure.
That's the only 10 out of 10 I think we've watched so far, honestly.
Oh, and also in my life, that's the only 10 out of 10.
There will be one coming up in a couple episodes that I considered a 10 out of 10. Whenever we do our web series or our internet series. Yes, you're mouthing it correctly.
I was mouthing it to Chelsea.
No, the other one.
Oh, well, it wasn't the other one.
Oh, God.
Okay, I guess this is the end of the episode. 3 hours in.
Oh, no.
This has been Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway.
I'm Chelsea Hollander.
And you can email us at noshowmonster@gmail.com and find us on Twitter at noshowmonster. Next week, we are talking about the movie Unfriended, which you can find on Netflix.
On Netflix.
Check it out. It's got comedian Moses Storm in it, being a little cutie patootie. So give that a watch. Come join us to discuss it next week.
Oh, we're also, hey, did you talk about this on the last one that we're changing to Tuesdays?
I think I mentioned it on the last one, but that's a good reminder. We are changing to a Tuesday release schedule rather than Saturdays. So keep checking your feed. We will come out on Tuesdays.
And on Mondays, you can download the 13th Depository.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Which is another podcast I host with a friend of mine, Kay Waldrop, and we are talking about The Wheel of Time. We talked about the Amazon series, and we have just pivoted to the books. So our next episode will be about chapters 1 through 12, which seems like a lot, but it's a long series. So I don't know what to tell you. The first episode about the books was just about the prologue and an earlier section called Ravens. So join us to talk about that.
Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
Happy Spookies.
Happy Spookies. We'll see you next week.